Hi everyone, it's Kasia from Tarot Map, and this is yet another installment in my Inspired Tarot Map. And this time I'm hosting Sue Kovacs. Hi, Sue.
Hi.
Sue is a certified practitioner of traditional energetic healing. She's trained in mediumship, she's trained in earth-based modalities like shamanism, and she is the creator of the amazing Dream Dust Shamanic Tarot. And the tarot is probably one of the main reasons why I invited you on Inspired Tarot Map, because when I saw your deck, I was just like, I'm always fascinated by original decks, and I always look for, some pearls that are a little bit different than your regular Rider-Waite-Smith and so on. So when I saw your deck, I was like, wow, what is it? Is it an oracle? And then no, it's a tarot, and it like looks nothing like tarot. So I'm like, we've got to find out more. So that's why I'm like, Sue, come on interview, tell me more about your deck. So Sue, I usually start with question about ancestry, just because we not an island and we always come from somewhere. Could you share with us where you're from, where your ancestors come from?
Sure. I was born and raised in the United States. Grew up in New Jersey and moved to New York City at a very young age. I was about 17 when I moved to New York, and went to art school here, and then made myself a career in the design industry. So my spiritual path didn't start until, as the professional path didn't start until later in my life. But my parents, my father's Hungarian. That's where I get the Kovacs name, and my mother, and my mother, the French, Canadian, German ancestry.
Mm-hmm. So do we say your surname Kovacs?
A lot of people do, and that's correct as well. Yeah, you could.
So it's like either Kovacs or Kovacs. How do you?
I say Kovacs because I was born here, but my Hungarian relatives would say Kovacs.
Kovacs. Ah, that's cool. Okay, I love Hungarian. I don't know, like Hungarian language. If I could, I would love to speak it. Do you speak it?
Nem. If there's one thing I do regret is not learning it as a child. My father spoke, but not to us. They just wanted us to speak English. So.
Yeah, I can imagine probably if they kind of went to, I don't know when they went to the US, but if they went to the US as this older generation, I mean, like escaping maybe from Europe at the time of 80s or 70s or whatever, then yeah, you kind of wanted to forget about the systems that ruled Europe at this time.
Yeah, he was born here, but he had a very, his parents spoke very little English, so he just grew up that way, and he didn't want that for us. So I have a brother. So yeah, but
yeah, now it's
really I'm not dead yet. I can still learn.
Yeah, but I know, but Hungarian is like one of those languages, even if it's Slavic and you can do all the shizhi and all these sounds. It's still, you have to also master the umlauts of German and some weird fucking noise that, yeah, but I love the sound of Hungarian. It's really awesome. So, okay, so basically you a New Yorker, we can say right now, right? And do you love New York? You love living in New York, or would you prefer to live somewhere else? Or?
No, I love New York, and it's home to me, but the city is not somewhere I want to live anymore, and I am looking for a place outside, somewhere in the country.
Just because of more access to nature, I could.
More access to nature, yeah.
Just based on what you do and how your deck looks, I felt like, yeah, I could picture you in some like lots of trees and have access to green and to nature.
And I grew up that way, so it's sort of going back to what I grew up with.
Yeah,
what I'm looking for, yeah.
So if we speak about tarot, like your tarot history, your tarot ancestry, how did tarot kind of enter into your world? Was it there before you created your deck? How did it look for you?
That's a great question. Tarot was never on my map never in my world. So I think I kind of broke the mold when it comes to this, and maybe I'm wrong, and maybe you can point me to someone who has done this. But the reason I created my deck was because I was learning mediumship and I was learning tarot when I had an event happen in my life that sort of made me say, okay, I'm either really crazy or I have some kind of psychic ability and this is real. So my whole life I've seen spirits and I've had experiences that would make someone either put them in a mental hospital or
Yeah.
you know.
Can you
So,
share? Can you share the event? Or
sure. Well, my father passed away in 2011, and he showed up. He walked, right in front of me, and then there were other signs around the house of things that happened that were unmistakable signs of my dad saying hello. And so when that happened, it was just such a shock that I wound up going to see a medium. And it was like, she just showed up in my life through a friend who was like, oh, you should talk to this person, And she was like, oh, you're a medium. And she validated a lot of things that happened. And I was like, wow, this is real. So it was never really on my radar. I believe in a lot of things. I explore a lot. I'm an artist, but it was just not something that I really looked into for myself. I just didn't, it just never came to me. So anyway, I did find a teacher who could help me with understanding my mediumship. And she started teaching me how to use my psychic ability. And one of the tools was tarot. And when she started teaching me, I was like, nah, I don't really, we were using the Rider-Waite deck. And I was like, I don't need this to read. Like I could read the room or I could read a rock, like I don't need to use these. But I was kind of like amazed by them because I was like, there's so much history and there was so much energy and I knew nothing about tarot. So I was already at this point channeling my guides, and my guides were like, if you really want to understand this, create your own deck. Because I was already a painter, I was already making art. So I would set up sessions in my studio where I would work on either one card or a series, like, C in my deck, there are the 4 elements. So it's all based on the Rider-Waite structure. So I started painting them, and then I was like, oh yeah. And then when I would read the painting, it made sense. It was just sort of more of palpable. It was more something you could feel, which is how I read, which is how I learned how to read, through feeling. And then, that's the first part. So then, it got, once I was like way into it and all the paintings were done and they were on the walls, I saw this as something that I should make into a deck and use for readings. And then it became like, oh no, other people need this. This is really powerful. And this is going to help teach people who don't like tarot or know nothing about tarot how to read, because you're trusting how you feel with the images, with the paintings.
So I find it really interesting what you said, like this, that you learn to read tarot through how you feel, or the feeling. So would you say that you like your main channel, like psychic channel, would be like kinesthetic? That you would feel sensations in your body, or how did you mean this?
Well, because a lot of people when they're starting out learning how to use their psychic gifts, think that they have to like trust their clairvoyancy, trust what they're seeing. But it's the feeling behind what they're seeing that's going to give them more information. So and with any of the clairs. So while I'm clairvoyant and that's my main gift, I trust my feeling behind the scene, because I might be seeing with you some story playing out, but I don't really understand what that means, but I do understand how I feel. Okay. So I trust how I feel. So that gives me more information. And then of course my hearing, I'll hear, oh, well, that means this, or, but that's how it works for me. Like the way my clairs work. And
okay, that makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense totally, because it's interesting, because I'm preparing like an intuitive tarot reading class, And I have been reading a lot about clairs, and I actually, you know, I'm not a clairvoyant or like you, like I don't have this mediumship experiences like you had, but I believe that each of us can just definitely develop it, and some people can be more open at different levels. So I was explaining, like for me it's more like I think I'm more clairaudient than clairvoyant or clairsentient, but the clairsentience is really interesting with the feeling. And as you mentioned now, that everything actually, even if you hear it, like yeah, so there's something beneath it, and if you connect to the feeling, that you know, kind of, oh yeah, I hear love, but I feel, for example, tense, or
Right. That's right.
yeah,
And so, and the other part to that is, which I'm learning a lot about, help, because I'm doing hands-on healing with people, and the number one issue for people why they're struggling with, say, an old trauma or a block, is because they're unable to feel their feeling about it. So when we were taught at a very young age, oh, you're making this up, or you're crying, you're a baby, you get told things and you shut down your feelings. This is who we are. Like, that's how we navigate the world, is through feeling.
yeah.
So, well, it's just really important to trust those things. And when we get told at a young age to shut them down, we have to really learn how to reopen that gift. So while everyone thinks that clairvoyancy is like the woo-woo of all, like, oh my God, you could see, I really feel like it's that clairsentience, really trusting your feelings and trusting, and then knowing, oh, okay, I know what that means when I'm seeing, because that's how it feels. And
That's really
so,
interesting. I totally, kind of, when you speak, I totally agree with it. I never really thought about it this way, maybe, but because usually when you know, like, kind of think, oh, clairaudience, like you kind of split this. I know that we all have all of the channels somehow, you know, it's not like nobody ever experienced clairvoyance, or like, I think we all experienced all the channels. But when you start like teaching and you split them, you know, I feel like sometimes people can get to hang up, or actually, oh, I'm only this, or I'm only this. But that's really interesting with the feeling. I totally makes sense. So you said your deck, because I don't, do you have your deck somewhere nearby so we can show a few cards? Can you show a few cards? Because for people who haven't seen maybe the deck yet, I'm going to link all Sue's website and Instagram down in the description box. But yeah, you can guys take it, because it's an abstract kind of looking deck.
well, this is the back side. They're all and this is my deck, so it's been shuffled and used, so all the cards are in different order. But some people, like in a traditional tarot, they like the mirrored image on the back. This doesn't have that, and that was for a reason when I designed it. The way you read these cards. So, for instance, this is one of the wind cards. This is Wind Horse. And so when I designed this deck, what you do is when you pull the card, whether it's upside down or not, you read it for what it's like. You read it like, it could be sideways, it could be upside down, it could be any way. So it's a little bit different than there's a meaning to be upside down. If that resonates with you, if upside down means less or more negative connotation, go with it. But for me, it was more about, each one is like reading nature. It's like reading a cloud. It's like reading a rock. You turn it around. The cloud is shape shifting. So do the cards. They're like portals like that for you to read.
Cool. Show us more.
So let's see. So this is Earth. One of the Earth cards is the horses are coming up. This is Earth Horse. We love Earth Horse.
We managed to record the interview. We're going for it.
Exactly. This is the wheel. So some of the names are similar to, it's not, are similar to the ones that are in the Rider-Waite. And the reason I did it in the reason I used the structure of the Rider-Waite was just because it was taught to me that way. And I understood the 22 spiritual lessons that made sense of the fool's journey. We are the dreamer. I call the fool the dreamer on this journey in life. And then like these major turning points will happen, and to pay attention to them. It was just sort of made sense to me. So I liked it. The Lovers is this one.
Oh, I love the colors.
Okay, let's see. The Hermit. The Hermit's a wild one.
Yeah. So, I can hear the questions that are coming. How can I read it how can I read it? How do I know it's the Hermit? Like, what does it mean? Like, it's just very abstract. So probably a lot of people will feel like
Right.
scared to even access the deck because it seems maybe inapproachable because it's so abstract. What would be your advice to people to like kind of, break the ice so they don't feel so don't feel
Perfect.
so scared?
So you pull a card in the deck, and it says the Hermit, and it's got some copy on the bottom that kind of describes what, that sort of means. But the whole point of this deck is to trust your intuition, trust what you're seeing. So I may, in a reading, pull the Hermit and see a forest and see a man with his head down like this. And then I see a butterfly in my mind. I might not even use the meaning of they're portals. I might not even use the meaning of Hermit, but I know that the Hermit's been pulled, so I might also add that to what I got. So really, this deck is truly about opening up to your psychic ability. How do you use your intuition? That teaches you first. In any reading, you sit down with there are tarot readers who will just read the cards, and then there are mediums who read with cards, working with their spirits. The difference between a medium and a psychic is a psychic isn't going to speak to the spirits, isn't speaking to, I'm speaking to the spirit of my deck. So I am working with my guides, I'm working with my psychic ability, and I'm using a tool, which is tarot. So it's many layers. And wherever you are in this, you show up, it's right for you because it's wherever you are. It meets you where you are at. That's the fun of it, is that you get to trust. Well, let's see, I see a green stripe. You can even write it down, super green stripe, feeling wavy. I'm feeling a little off kilter. I feel like I need to go in. It makes me want to ground.
I
Then
saw
you
a
write down.
row, I saw a row of these women like walking.
Right. And that's the thing. And then I say, if I just listen, I need something more out of it. I'll turn the cards to get more out of them. And then if I'm needing more, I'll pull another. But I'm really, the whole point of this for people who are trying to actually learn tarot, you can learn it through this deck, but moreover, you're going to strengthen your psychic ability by doing it, by really trusting what you're hearing when you pull the card, what you're feeling. Then you get to use them as like little landscapes that you go into, and like with any deck, talk to the character in the deck.
Yeah. I think
there's no man with a lantern, but who is in here?
yeah,
Right?
totally. And I think, especially I love these decks like this. I probably wouldn't, for example, recommend it for a person who wants to learn tarot, or if I have, then maybe with a traditional deck as well. So because I always think like, if you want to just read intuitively, why do you need tarot? Use oracle deck, use whatever cards. But, tarot is a special system as well. And somehow what you just said, about the Hermit, the tarot system can help you interpret abstract deck, for example, but decks like this are amazing for example, tarot readers like myself who are shit as bored with Rider-Waite-Smith. I'm sorry, Rider-Waite-Smith lovers. And
Right.
I love, that's why I look for original decks, and I look for decks who are, kind of based, like you made an effort to fit it into the tarot system, and you made, an effort to use tarot system archetypes to help you to create a systematic deck. But at the same time, it so breaks with the traditional that it allows me to practice my intuitive skills. And if I want to, I can help myself with my tarot knowledge to add to, for example, the Hermit here. I see the women, but I can add also, maybe, they're going on a sabbatical and not dancing to the disco, or
Exactly.
yeah.
The other thing I wanted to just say was that you can, the whole point was, if you're trying to learn tarot, this deck is great if you're afraid of certain imagery. If like the devil scares you, this is illusion. This is the devil card. It's totally different. You get it's not, you're not frightened by an image that is already stuck in your consciousness from something you learned a long time ago. You're starting fresh. Well, okay, so I changed the word from devil because people are really hung up on these things, you know what I mean? And they can't get past the wall of scary. They have meanings there already that they can't like break away from. So just stepping into a card like that totally takes all that fear away. And then
yeah, you call
you
it
know,
illusion.
use
Yeah, illusion.
imagination. Yeah.
Yeah. And
So,
what
but it
does
has
it
all the
say?
meaning. Hmm?
Yeah, what does it say underneath, just for
So,
people to?
right. So this one says examining the value of life, addictions, abuse, ruin caused by blind material pursuits, shamelessness. These are just like what they are kind of keys into what it might be about. And then in the book, there's a book that comes with it. There's a little bit more of an in-depth meaning that you could, you know, look at. But I didn't even want to make the book personally. There's a little more in there. Illusion represents hidden forces, being stuck or controlled by negativity, a forgetfulness of spirit, fearing the worst, driven by ego, force, anger and violence, addictions, abuse of power, desire overcomes reason, having a scapegoat to blame. You have the power to overcome fear and despair if you choose to break free of illusions. So, you know, these, like, some people love the guidebook and it helps them to understand. Other people toss the guidebook away. I've had people ask me, why don't you make a deck without them? The reason I made the deck with them was because my guide said to, and it took me a year to really commit to that. It took me 3 years to make the deck.
Yeah.
So anyway, it went out.
Sorry. Yeah, go.
No. And I feel like it's right for people who are trying to learn tarot. You know, people who are just starting out but are afraid and don't trust their intuition and are, you know, it's a really fun deck that makes you like excited. That's why I like it.
Yeah. So, can you tell me a little bit? I actually wanted to say when I interrupted you that I think it's a great idea that there are little keywords, because that makes the deck a little bit more approachable, and somehow it puts the deck a little bit like kind of in between Oracle and Tarot, which is also quite funky. Like, you know, that you have this, like, you can't really put it neatly into one of the drawers, that this is it. And it's, you know, Dream Dust Shamanic Tarot. It's kind of a little bit dream dust. Like, so I feel like it fits the, you know, like, don't define me with your limits, you know, that this is it. Yeah.
And yeah, thank you. Yeah, and I lost the thread, but yeah, I thank you for saying that.
Yeah. So, well, I help you come back to some other thread now.
Okay,
I wanted to ask you about process of creation, like how were you creating the deck, the art for the deck itself? Were you systematic about it? Did you have dreams? How about the colors? Like, how did you go about it? If you can share this, that would be awesome.
Well, I'm gonna say, you know, when I started it, I was like, I made it kind of a task for myself. Like, okay, I'm gonna learn this. So I had my studio set up with these wooden panels, and they were in the shape of tarot cards. And I sat down with the idea that in that session, in that hour, or however much time I put into it, whatever came through me was meant to be for that card. And so I would see things and I would know to pick up red or blue, or, you know, or make this move, but I was really not thinking too much about it. I was just allowing myself to just channel it, you know. And then I would have, I think I was using, I'm trying to think of what book it was. There was a workbook that I could hold out like this of the different, it was black and white. I'll have to remember. I can't even remember which workbook it is. Maybe you'll remind me. You probably know which one I'm thinking about.
No.
But it was like, I didn't really start off in any order. It was like I would run my hand and say, oh, that one, you know, and then I would know what it was. I would see it, but then I would call in my spirits and I would say, okay, what should this be? What does this need to be? And then I would understand through color and just the picture that came through. It's like, oh, okay, now I know what that means.
That's so interesting. So basically, the type of artwork which is in the deck, this is basically also the type of art that you were doing before as well, or was it like a totally different for tarot deck, or was it in your work style?
Yeah, it's the same. It was a little bit of a different technique. It was coming from where I was working already with gouaches and this sort of style of painting that I was doing. And then it became a little more, in my mind, even more painterly. So it did bring out this other level. Like, for instance, a card like this, which is the 9 of Earth. There's like this kind of, so more painterly. Or the 5 of Sea, which is also kind of almost watercolory or painterly.
I love the art. How about the court cards? Like, did you have any other process with the court cards, or they just came up like any other archetype?
I didn't. No, the whole process was the same. I would say the only difference was I started with the 22. I started with the 22 major arcana. And then I went into the suits, and I didn't separate the court from the pips.
Yeah.
They kind of all were like in this. So if I started on fire, I finished fire, and then I went to sea, and then I went to wind, and then earth, something like that.
Yeah. So from the suits, that how you change them, they quite like earth-based as well, quite shamanic. So you just used elements, right? Is the wind.
Right. I stuck to the traditional. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And how are the court called? And the court cards? How did
Well, okay. So king is shaman, queen is goddess, right?
Yeah.
Page is the sprite, and horse is the horse.
Because we got to
tonight.
I'm just sitting here and can't stop thinking about it, because there's this Polish deck. I don't know if you know it, this tarot deck.
No, I don't know this one.
And when you said that you like kind of got the message from your guides, and you had this mediumistic experience, this lady, she's Polish, I know her also, Marzena, she created this. She was in hospital once, and a lady who she was in the room with, she was a medium, and she said to her, you will make a tarot deck. And she goes like, I don't know anything about tarot, I won't make a tarot deck. Like, get it? In the end she did, but what she did like these were like not concrete, how do you say it, like, she kind of did the blocks.
A wood block. Yeah,
but
linoleum.
They weren't from wood. They weren't from wood. They were from like a concrete-like material. I can't even remember.
Linoleum?
Maybe. No. I don't know how to say it in English.
Ceramic?
It's like, it's like wooden block, but it wasn't from wood. It was more from like this, what you would do a wall from.
Okay.
That she would color it. And she connected all the majors with like, each archetype has this, so it's called tarot droga, which means tarot of the way or of the path, and each major has this like path, connecting to the nut to the other. So it also was an interesting thing that you said, like, that somebody said like, you will make a deck, and that's what happened. And she said she picked like the most difficult medium to make tarot deck. She said like, if she knew what she's getting herself into, she would never do it this way again. But I'll show you the like little, I guess that's how the majors look.
Oh, beautiful. I love that.
All connected with this like this path.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, that's how she did it. So that's interesting. The medium inspired decks. And also quite shamanic, like, of course different to yours, but also quite earthy. And so I found it.
I like the pattern on the back. Can you show that?
And then this labyrinth kind of.
Labyrinth, yeah. It looks Peruvian. It looks like one of the Peruvian textiles.
Okay, I have to ask you, what is it? Because so that's how it looks. It's like this. It's not concrete, but it's like a stone.
It looks like ceramic.
Yeah, maybe like ceramic kind of thing. So that's what she did.
Uh-huh.
all 70. I know she did actually major arcana like this and court cards, and then the rest one she did like she computerized the minors as pips only. She didn't do the whole 78.
Okay.
She thought she
I
felt
painted
great.
them all. Yeah, all of mine are the same. So
Yeah, yours ones are all done kind of in the same style, and I think the pentacles maybe have a bit more, as you said, like a bit more earthiness added because you added those dots, and they bring the pentacles kind of to mind a little bit more.
yeah,
I
like
love the colors.
this is the king. This would be the king of pentacles. So this is the earth shaman.
So how do you, can you just like tell us a little bit about this king of pentacles? How do you, like, what do you see there? Because I still hear voices of my guys, the audience going, I can't fucking, I can't see a king of pentacles. I can't see anything there. What do you see?
I mean, it depends on who I'm reading for, but just generally when I pick up the card, what I see the base of a redwood tree and a doorway into the redwood tree. And I see just like a path. There's like a path leading to it. And here I see this like orb of light, which is spirit. And this is kind of you entering the redwood, the base of this like old redwood tree. And I see just like a rich path of, you know, green, of like forest that's like really healthy.
Nice.
And it makes me feel secure. It just makes me feel grounded, and home is a good word, but
and the growth.
very powerful.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. Can we do one more? Because I just think this is really cool, and it will be interesting for people. I know that you have, like, you know, every time you probably read, or every time you have a question, even to give you some more context, or if you just do open reading and free flow, it will be depending on the day. You will probably see different things and be drawn to different elements. But just to give people an example of how they can read decks like this if they still feel a bit, you know, uneasy, because I know that a lot of people might feel uneasy about abstract decks, like people feel uneasy about abstract art in general, just going like, it says nothing to me. You know,
it's interesting. People feel uneasy about trusting themselves, and this makes it playful. This brings out the inner child to say, you know, well, what does it feel like to me, or what does that, you know, that big swath of green mean to me? You know, that's the difference. I mean, that makes you better at what you do. It makes you better at reading everything. So
I agree.
Yeah,
totally. So let's do one more card.
Because sometimes it's uncomfortable to do something new and different, but you get better results when you do. Trust me.
I agree. I totally agree with
you. Yeah.
So one more, last card. Pick one for us collectively.
Okay. You want me to pull a card for us?
Yeah, just one from the deck, and then maybe you can also show us what you see in it right now.
Okay, wait. What did you say?
It's gilded. The deck is gilded. It's so
yes, it's gilded. Some people don't like that. Some people.
I know.
That's the other thing about the tarot community, which I had no idea about. When I went into this, it was purely educational. It was purely like about learning your psychic ability and about trusting spirit and trusting like the fun of it. I had no, I was like, oh, I like gilded edges and I like glossy cards. And some people are like, whoa, this is, you know, so everybody's so different.
I know, but you will never please everyone in tarot community. I just watch it, and it's always, you know, some people love small cards, some people will like big ones. No gloss, doesn't matter.
This deck will find its home. I mean, the people that use it love it. I never heard. Yeah, I mean, it's life-changing, actually. So, okay. Are we asking a question?
No, we're just asking for inspiration for our collective viewers, kind of, just for inspiration from the deck itself.
All right. Oh, I got the Lovers. I showed that earlier.
And when you showed it before, I was like, oh, these colors are really soothing for me right now. That's really lovely colors.
Yeah. So let's do a reading for everyone. What do you see?
Okay. I do see a dove in the right hand corner, which is like this kind of rosy pink. And I see like, like two two people or not people, who knows, two beings. One has a tail and they looking at one another, and they kind of melting and connecting to one another at the bottom, like they coming from like the same source, and then they kind of split and get more shape and more, they separate more from the top, and at the bottom they really connected together. That's what I see. What do you see?
Yeah, that's beautiful. I see the figure coming together as well, and it's funny, I see a figure in the middle as well. I feel like there's a third figure.
I see. Yeah.
Like waiting.
It's the angels. The angels.
Yeah. Oh, that's so funny. And what I'm really drawn to in this card is this like field of lavender, which is the peace between the two, the splitting, like feeling like you're splitting apart and coming back together. There's this feeling of kind of like disconnect or duality and then coming back together. But there's a peace in it. There's like a oneness, if that makes sense to you.
Yeah,
and I just
sorry, the colors kind of bring this sense of like they're quite peaceful, the blues and the like the tea rose pink kind, you know, that's like it's quite subdued, like it's not passion, like
right.
it's like lovely, like yeah.
Right, a loveliness. I like that. So the loveliness, and then I'm gonna just shuffle one more time so you can find it. What is one more card we can pull? Oh, balance. Okay, so this is temperance.
Ah, you called balance temperance, nice. Oh shit.
This is a wild one.
Oh shit. What do I see? Oh my god, like it's like a mountain or like a hill in the middle that shape the white shape. And well, I see like three elements, like kind of nearly earth, water, and like fire kind of bit. What's this like? Oh, this one would take a while. I'm drawn now to this, like it's like a wand or like a lantern or like a, you know, like a wand with fire. I don't know whether it's white. It doesn't.
So close your eyes for a minute, knowing what you see. Close your eyes for a minute and just go inside. And imagine you're stepping into this landscape, this card of balance. You're walking around. You can open your eyes if you need to look at it again and go back in. And just ask the elements in the card, who are you? What do you have to show me? What do I need to know about balance? And then you can also trust what you're hearing outside, if that's how you use your clairs, if you listen clairaudiently to the room you're in or outside. You know, this is where you can really deepen the practice and weave in more elements. Or you just go straight off of the stuff you're seeing right in the card without even closing your eyes. Did you get anything?
I did. I got like I got. It's funny because first I had like waves or like sound of water, but then suddenly I saw that this is like now the mountain, it became actually a person, but a little bit like a hermity person, that this is a person that kind of like not like lights the way, but it has like this is the element that the person uses to kind of fuse the elements, and suddenly these waves that I had, they became a pool. Now I'm seeing a pool and the person at the pool, but like this person is more like a ghosty. It's not like a regular, it felt more like this guide or like a ghostly person, you know, like not a human being kind of standing there. That's why maybe she's so see-through and kind of elusive.
Beautiful.
But interesting that it had this sense of that when I go for the feeling, it had the sense of this like wavy, like, you know, like when you, I don't know, like a drop and it goes with the waves.
Like going with the flow, riding the wave.
Yeah, like this gentle movement forward. So we could kind of even go, if you go with regular temperance, how it goes, this like, you know, the
yes
like, yeah, oh, that was good. See, we even did the session without planning it.
See? And this is about, you know, and there's that there's something tranquil about riding a wave like that kind of, and that's what this card is about: moderation, you know, balanced emotions, kind of riding something out. And I love that you said you saw a guide, because isn't that right? Like tapping into a higher spiritual authority or a guide or an angel to help you find moderation or help you find that equilibrium that you're talking about. This card also, when I see it, there's like this window that opens up to another dimension, almost like the third eye, and your creativity opening up. So this is a really amazing card. I used to be afraid of it when I first made it, because I was like, what the? And it's revealed so much to me. And these cards they unfold over time. Like you'll be like, wow, I saw a raven's wing, you know, like you'll just see so many, like I've seen the sun rise in this card, you know, so just like other tarot, you always see something new. But these cards really do add a dimension to a reading that you can't get from a traditional, you know, from regular imagery. From regular tarot, so.
Definitely this more intuitive side to reading a deck like this. It's a little bit like, you know, reading the Marseille deck, and people are also scared of it, but Marseille is much more mathematical and kind of, you know, you're looking, but once you start reading it, you start seeing shapes in those weird cups, and you know, it also opens you up somehow. But this is even like reading art or reading, it's beautiful. So thanks for doing it. This was fun.
It's another way. It's another way to see. Right.
Yeah, and I actually love it, because people often say, you know, but how do I know if this is my intuition or if I invent things? I always say, I'll just invent a way, because this is the gateway to your intuition, the imagination, the using, you know, invention. Intuition is using inventive mind, you know, imagination is using the quality of our inventing things. You still will be inventing something, and that's important, what comes up to you right now at this moment. So
and in a reading, you know, the only thing that matters are results. You're trying to help someone get guidance, you know, without scaring them. You're trying to give them something they can walk away with that's useful. And the way to get good at that is trusting your intuition, trusting what's coming through. If you keep blocking everything, you'll never get to it. So it's like it's just strengthening that muscle in order to do it.
Yeah. And I think in some way also, the more you use your intuition and the readings in this type of way, you also, because I think often people think, you know, like, what does it mean? I see the blue wing and I see the red river, you know, that like, it's not, but you also can synthesize things, and you can use symbol as a way of translation of some things or events from life. So you don't need to leave your client or yourself with like, I don't know, I just see these colors and so what? Like usually you do translate or interpret somehow. So it's more kind of, it comes back to the reality where you live. So that means something, right?
What does it mean to you? And then it might not mean, you're like, well, I'm seeing, you know, say for instance, in the dreamer card, you know, I'm seeing these flags and I'm not sure of it, but they look like they're on a boat. And your client might say, well, I have a boat, you know, and I've been meaning to fix that, you know, Right.
Oh, these colors, amazing.
Yeah, this is one. And then this is the moon card. The moon has a lot of pearl, like fog, right? Yeah. The sun card is just a burst of orange and has a lot of characters in there if you get close enough to it.
Wow, that's amazing.
This is a sprite card. This is one of like a page. This is the wind sprite.
But that somehow straight away reminded me of Ankh cross. I don't know.
Yeah.
The shape. But it's so much more. Like, yeah, totally. So I would love people if they, if people who watch it, if you guys can comment, like how do you find abstract decks like this? Is it fun for you, you know? Because like for myself, I just love it, but like I'm kind of excited about art like this. It makes me always cross behind the box and outside of the box, and just really it opens up the way you read regular decks as well, because you see more, you practice your kind of vision, your eye, like you really go and you see more. So anyway, we're going to wrap it up slowly. The would you like to tell us like what other work you do, like, because I know that you do healing for people, like, well, you mix modalities, right? Or you just work with, can you just tell a little bit, like if anyone who is maybe in New York wants to get in touch or just get inspired by how you work, can you tell us like what you do?
Thank you. I do shamanic healing work. I do hands-on healing as well as remote sessions. So shamanic Reiki, hands-on and also remote. I have a lot of clients that see me for like counseling, intuitive guidance, but also healing work. So I work through Zoom like this with clients. I use the tarot as portals also. Like a lot of my clients will use the deck with me to help them understand an issue they're going through. I teach through using this deck. I also have a Facebook group that's free that you can join. If you go on Facebook, it's the Dream Dust Shamanic Tarot group, and you can just go in there. I give weekly readings in there, and I have private classes as well, where I'm teaching a private group twice a month called the Garden Sessions. That's another membership program you could join with me. So I take people on shamanic journeys for guidance and discovery, for healing. And that's about it. Mostly it's counseling and guidance and healing work.
I actually think your deck is perfect for shamanic journeying, like to journey into a card, like what we even did, like just a short one. But if you do with the drumming, if people can, do it themselves at home, even, I think that's also a great way to access a card and research, especially cards that you might be a little bit scared of, like you were scared before of Justice or something, of the Balance card, the Temperance. Like if there was something maybe that somehow triggered your interest, or you're a bit like, oh, not this one, please. It would be awesome to explore, I think. So can I ask you just to finish off, like, how do you work? Do you work with any other decks, or is it just mostly your deck? And would you maybe share a way you can maybe share something with people who work to try out with their decks at home, how you use cards?
Yeah, I love animal decks with this deck, particularly. Animal cards seem to really help. They're just fun. They add another dimension of, and it's very gentle and just adds a level of understanding that it always seems to weave together nicely. I have to say though, I use the Rider-Waite deck with this sometimes. I mix them up. The Jamie Sams medicine cards I like. Earth Magic, I love the Stephen Farmer Earth Magic deck with this particular, with Dream Dust. Let's see what other decks I use right now. Those are my go-tos. I have used the Wild, what's it called? The Wild Unknown. I have used it. It's not one of my favorites. It just, for me, it's with this deck. It's sometimes, but not really. It's not one of my go-tos. More the animals.
The styles don't go so well. I think just the art itself, it's a bit more structured, the Wild Unknown, compared to your deck, which kind of is much more free flow.
I mean, I like it. It's just I don't know. You go through moods with decks, right?
Totally.
I love what is it? The round one.
The archetypes, the Wild Unknown archetypes, or the
Mother Peace deck. I haven't used it in a while, but I like that one a lot too.
So would you pull cards daily for yourself, or it's more like whenever you feel like it?
No, I pulled pretty much daily, and I read for people daily too. So the card, I'm constantly using them. So
Yeah.
it's, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm always in
Cool.
conversation with them.
So I think we're going to wrap it up because we both wanted to make it short.
Yeah.
I don't think we managed very well, but it's not bad. It's not bad. I think we did
Thank
a
you.
lot. And I think so that was actually lovely. We didn't plan talking about it, but that you shared with us all this kind of mediumship, psychic differences and how people can tune in. I think that's valuable info for everyone. And I know that a lot of people will be interested to find out more about it. And I'm going to link all your websites and stuff below in the description box. So you guys, if anyone is in New York and want to get in touch with Sue, I have a lot of audience who lives in the States. I don't know how many in New York itself, but maybe somebody, who knows.
But even not in New York, most of my clients are, you know, in other countries, across the country, California,
Yeah, exactly.
all over the world. I work with people everywhere. So,
Yeah,
and
I find it
especially,
so amazing. Sorry,
yeah.
interrupting you. I'm butting in.
No, I'm no, it's just especially with what's going on with COVID and just the way things are different with hands-on stuff. A lot of stuff is remote now, so don't feel intimidated if you live, you know, in
Somewhere else.
Poland. You want to work
Yeah.
with me.
And exactly, I just wanted to say that I find it so amazing that we can actually do it these days, that there are tools that, yeah, you kind of meet people without really needing to be in the same spot geographically. So definitely get in touch with Sue. And yeah, thank you so much for being a guest. I'm going to definitely do a beautiful review of the deck. I want to play with it. I want to get in touch with the cards. We'll see how long it will take now for the post office to deliver it. I've been waiting for the parcels from the US for over 2 months now, so we'll see how it goes.
We should do a little ceremony on trying to push that through.
Yes, yes. I think we need some stardust here to like cover this beautiful.
I'm gonna send it.
Yes, please do, please do. So thank you so much. I wish you all the best. Thank you for making this amazing deck and for sharing this intuitive ways of how to use cards like this. I know a lot of us will appreciate it. And I will be in touch. We'll stay together. We'll on Instagram together. We see each other, so that's cool. Thank you for being on the show. And thanks everyone for watching. Much love to everyone. I speak to you soon. Bye.